here we are. This is Sex Love Psychedelics, and I'm your host, Dr. Kat. Bringing you psychosexual conversations that will leave you intellectually turned on and hungry for more.
How do you speak to people about the concept of countertransference?
That's one of the advantages of doing it on Zoom is that, countertransference is a major issue when somebody's, might be, you're an attractive woman, people coming to you can easily project all their stuff onto you in some ways. And that is a major issue when there's not a very clear boundary. On Zoom, I find that becomes literally not an issue. One time, maybe out of 200, it even showed up at all. So, whereas it shows up a lot, if you're doing it with somebody in your office. So, I might tell somebody who's being a little bit overly enthusiastic about how wonderful I am. I say, well, I appreciate your compliments, and that love that you're feeling is really inside you. And that's what we're here to explore, how you can get back to that place. And in fact, a lot of my clients come to me for spiritual expansion as much as trauma work, because it does open up that place of love. And I want to help people get to that place without the medicine as well.
Yeah. Again, the integration piece, speaking to that. So you're talking about transference, and it sounds like primarily romantic transference, but what about countertransference, where the therapist or the facilitator is projecting onto the client or using the client for their own needs unknowingly?
Yeah. Well, in my trainings, I talk about that a lot because I want to
good.
make sure that you're coming from as pure place as possible. The old Socrates term, know thyself, and know your tendencies, and know what is likely to happen. In the trainings, there's a lot of feedback from people that you work with. So you get to see, am I doing that? Is that something that's a problem for me? I think getting feedback and knowing yourself, which is a major part of the trainings, is an important ingredient so that you're not hurting people in any way.
Right. Yeah. One solution that I always talk about is, not to work in a silo, like have consultation groups or working with other people to be able to talk about that, but also do your own coaching or therapy work that reflects to you so you can see what may be in the shadows, or you might be reacting to a client and not realize that that's not their stuff, that's ours.
Right. And in my trainings, we do have like small groups so that people can give feedback. And we have a Telegram group. So all 280 people were talking. We had a transference and counter-transference thread so people could talk about those things.
Bless. Oh, I love that. Do you, in your experience over the years, did you have a point where you felt that you were, I don't know, responded from something from your shadow or something that you transferred onto a client?
Absolutely. And, so the question is, when you make a mistake like that, can you notice it in its smallest micro detail, or do you need to really like go all overboard before you even notice it? And so I try to be aware of what my tendencies are that way, and only go an inch over what I think is right rather than a mile over. But yeah, especially in the early days, I would notice things and I would get feedback, and I would have to self-correct. And I'm not beyond doing those minor transgressions. And when I say minor transgressions, I might be like, I'm a little bit annoyed, so I'm saying something out of annoyance. It's not like I'm violating boundaries or things, but you want to be aware of those small things, so that, and small biases. If somebody's like, very focused on making more money, I might do my thing. Well, hey, really, it's love that's important, or it's relationship that's important. Well, I want to make sure I'm not trying to put my worldview and pound it into them. Instead, I'm trying to heal what is important to them.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I love that. Not trying to override their values with your own values.
Yeah.
Well, that was fun. Thanks for tuning in, lovers. And if you want to experience more ecstasy and sexual liberation, head over to sexlovepsychedelics.com and learn about how you can join me for any one of my online or live events. And while you're there, grab my free guide on sex and psychedelics. Remember, this podcast is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Please contact your healthcare provider and local law before pursuing any of the products or psychedelics discussed. And one final note here. I make this show specifically for you. If you're loving the show, then be sure to leave me a review in iTunes or Spotify to let me know. Happy to be here and happy to serve. I'll see you next time on Sex, Love, Psychedelics.